So I want to rant off the cuff to you guys about a forum post on MMO Champions Blue Tracker that really piqued my interest. So that we are all on the same page here. MMO Champion news site, majority of the content on there, like 95% of it is World of Warcraft related. Screenshots about BFA and information and patch notes and videos and news and all this stuff. And they have a little bit of other content, but I'm sure the majority of you guys that play the game have probably checked it out. If not, check it out, mmochampion.com. The Blue Tracker here is exactly what the name implies. It is a section of the website at the very top that tracks anytime a Blizzard employee, community manager, developer, programmer, engineer, etc. Majority of them are going to be obviously the community managers when they directly reply to a forum post made on the official Blizzard forums. And this is really good if you are looking for direct information, direct input, direct feedback. If you are directly trying to see what a Blizzard employee said, and this is, the direct source, excuse me, then this is where you would go. Now, the forum post in question here, and I have it pulled up, is titled "The 50% Rule Implement Now." And right off the bat, ridiculous. And this forum post, it piqued my interest for quite a few reasons, none of which I think this gentleman that wrote this post, and I'm assuming it's a young man. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but we're going to go with him being a gentleman. Sure. So I think that this forum post, for me, it piqued my interest, but not really in the way that this guy intended it to be. And in reality, I think it's humorous. Spoiler alert, I think it's humorous. I think it's ridiculous. I think that it is an asinine and idiotic thought process, and I don't want you guys to fall into this trap because it's really easy to do so. So the forum post, like I mentioned, is the 50% rule, implement now, exclamation point. And then he goes on in here to detail that he has put, and quoting here, a lot of thought into this and hours of crafting this excellent new rule that he hopes Blizzard will implement, if not now, then in the next expansion. The next expansion, 2.5, 3 years from now. Clearly, Blizzard's interested. So his idea in question here is as follows, verbatim from his forum post. After 1 month of release, any and all content shall be completed by at least 50% of the players. In the event that this is not the case, the content in question will be retuned so that 50% of the player base has achieved success in said content. So he goes on to then detail that this is a check to make sure that people can complete content, that this is here to save the game, that what he means is not necessarily that the content will be nerfed, but that the rewards will be retuned to incentivize players into doing said content. He also details that this is literally for everything. PvE, PvP, pet battles, different professions, I guess. He details first aid, and that if the rewards are not retooled in a meaningful way, then in the case of something like first aid, which is being removed in BFA, that the content should just be simply removed. It should be cut out of the game. Now, here is the problem, and I think that you guys can obviously see where the issue lies. What if 50% of the player base just isn't doing the content? And his response is that this is the whole point, that this is to incentivize players in general to do the content. That if 50% of the player base, regardless of whatever the number is these days, if they're not doing that content, that the reward should, the content should be cut, or the reward should be so meaningful that you will drag yourself through hell to do it because it's totally worth it. Now, it's ridiculous. So for PvE, if we're talking about ratings specifically, he says that the metric that they are going to measure should be mythic content. That it should not be normal content. It shouldn't be heroic content. It should be mythic content, and that it should start, this 1 month period should start after the world first clear of whatever raid that is introduced. And, there's a handful of hurdles here. And it simply boils down to, it may not be that the content is too hard or the reward is not there. It may simply be that the player base in general can't do it. Whether it be something like a roster issue, which I've detailed many times on this channel. It may be interest. Maybe you're not interested in doing, mythic content. Some people just simply, and my guild survey that I talked to you guys about last week, some of the guys in the guild simply are not interested in doing mythic content, regardless of the reward, regardless of the prestige and the challenge. Some people are okay with not doing mythic content. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. Some people simply do not have the skill. And I'm not going to call people out. I'm not going to say, you guys know what I'm talking about, but you guys know what I'm talking about here. That there may be people that you've played with that simply lack the skill. I've seen it. You've seen it where, you're really scratching your head, and there's content on the screen now where we're doing a Mythic Plus, and I'm really scratching my head about some of the life decisions that these guys have made, and it's very clear that they probably shouldn't be doing the content they're doing, and some people just simply should not be in a Mythic guild doing Mythic content. It may be a time thing. Fact is, if you're going to do the most difficult of the most difficult content, you're going to have to sink some time and investment into it. And as we saw in Legion, maybe it's a rewards problem. A lot of players, a lot of guilds had decided, and I definitely agreed with them when I wasn't doing mythic rating, that the rewards for heroic had that chance, regardless of how minuscule it is, anecdotally speaking, of being equal to mythic gear when you're knocking out heroics significantly easier. And if the reward isn't there, it's not going to be done. Another issue, if we're talking about gear when it comes to mythic rating, as this is the metric for success, right? That 50% of the player base, that's a lot of people doing mythic content, that there is going to be this gear hurdle where if you are saying, the success rate has to be 50%, and we tune, as this gentleman said, we tune the gear to be so significantly better in mythic content, whether it be the traits on your Azurite armor, or just simply stat allocation is so significantly higher that it is so pressing to do mythic content, that if you wait any length of time, you're just going to simply be so far behind that those people with mythic gear are just going to blow you out of the water. You just won't be able to compete. And there's no catch-up mechanic, right? So what do you do? It obviously won't work. Now, if we look at PvP, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not a huge PvPer, and that's the problem is, I'm not a huge PvPer. So for me, what can you do to incentivize me to jump in and play some PvP matches? Now, I don't think that, at least I don't remember him signifying, is it arena matches? Is it rated battlegrounds? Is it regular battleground? He didn't say. World PvP, I don't know. But again, it comes down to a few things. I'm not interested in PvP. I do the tower missions, the world quests, because those are easy and those are fun, and I get some PvP levels, and it's cool. But we also have to look at things like faction balance. A lot of servers are balanced significantly one way over the other. You look at my server, significantly horde. In fact, I would wager a good chunk of guilds are significantly horde. So how do you get this 50%, this metric for success? Is it a 50% win rate? You mean to tell me that regardless of things like faction balance, skill, interest, queue times, gear level, that I, as a player, regardless of if I am a brand new PvPer or a gladiator or whatever, that top 1% of PvPers, that I should win half of my matches? Because you, as an opposing player, on the alliance side, you have to win 50% of yours too. So how does that work out if regardless of skill and gear and whatnot, that through whatever incentive it may be, that you can only win, or you're only going to win about 50% of them. Is it only going to be 50%? What if it's 49% of the matches? Do I purposefully, lose a couple of matches, or, is that going to be a thing where we purposefully lose to keep it under 50% so that we can get better gear or better Azurite or, whatever? The idea here doesn't make sense. Now, my concern isn't so much the idea, which, yes, I know I'm picking on this guy and I'm picking on his idea because it's a ridiculous idea. But my concern here is more so the attitude and mindset behind it. That if content cannot be done because it's hard, that it should be changed. That it should be made more easy via rewards, gear, etc. until more people can do it. And my problem is this. Life is hard. Life is really fucking hard. And I could sit here all day, and tell you guys and fill up videos and videos of my trials and tribulations outside of the raid, outside of the game, about how hard life is. But you know what? Hardships and difficulties are okay. It's okay if your guild can't clear a mythic raid. It's okay if you are wiping to a boss over and over again. It's okay if you are dying in PvP situations. It's okay if that mage tower is kicking your ass and it took me 10 tries to do it, but it's taking you 200 tries. As long as, and I tell my guys this when we raid, as long as we're making meaningful progress. I don't care if we sit at a mythic boss and, we pull, 500 times. And obviously I'm throwing numbers out here, but if we pull 500 times and that first pull, we get them down to 99%. I don't care if we wipe on that second pull, as long as we get them down to 98%. As long as we're making meaningful progress and we're learning, it's okay to fail. And this is something that, and I'm going to see if I can pronounce his name. No, I can't. Yithsens, one of the community managers, I butchered his name, that he echoed my sentiment here, where he says it's okay to fail. As long as you are, and he's speaking about the Mage Tower specifically somewhere in there, as long as you're learning, as long as you're going, oh crap, so that's what those guys do. Next time I'm not going to make that mistake. And that's something that I tell my raiders to do is, I understand that in life, in the raid, you're going to fuck up. You're going to stand in fire. You're going to forget about a mechanic. You're going to do something, and it's going to cause a wipe. It's going to cause, you to die. It's going to cause strain on the healers, the tanks, the DPS, whatever. I don't care. That I don't care about. What I care about is that you are learning from your mistakes. You stand in fire. You stand in a mechanic, and it kills you. Okay. You stand in it a second time, that's when there's an issue. And it's okay for that content to be hard as long as there is progress being made. It's okay to struggle. Don't go this easy way. There's so many people that bitch and complain about there being a lack of content in World of Warcraft. That it's such an easy game, that there's such a lack of content, that, it's a game that you can just jump in and clear and it's easy peasy. Yeah. Have you done mythic content? Have you, what mythic bosses have you killed? Have you cleared heroic or mythic Antorus rather? Stuff like that. Don't go the easy way just because content's hard and go, I'm not going to try that because it looks really hard. Instead go, I'm going to really work my ass off and we're going to learn this fight because it's really hard. Don't beg, don't plead, don't wish for nerfs. And now, obviously, if things are too overtuned, if things are poorly made, obviously, if things aren't working, it's different. But because something is difficult, doesn't mean that it shouldn't be in the game. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be in your life. It's part of life. It's part of the game. Want the difficulty because you want to get better. You want to learn. You want to progress. You want to really develop yourself as a player. And I think wanting things easier is the first step to failing as a person, as a raider, and just throwing the towel in. At least that's my thought process behind it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You agree, disagree? Let me know. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.